me and the gang pulled up to the Sonic 3 premiere looking like a couple of snazzy mongrels. And let me tell y'all something, it was a wild ride. So much so that I literally got tickets to go see the movie again the following day. Twice! I'm gonna give you all the good, bad, and ugly as not only the Blue Boys' #1 fangirl, but also through the lens of a casual moviegoer for you normies watching. So, without further ado, let's get moving! Let's cut to the chase. Was Sonic 3 good? No. It was great! I only had one expectation for this film, and that was to give me a joyful spectacle to enjoy with some friends. And boy did the team behind this movie deliver. From beginning to end, this film was a non-stop action fest. To best describe it in 3 acts, this is how I'd go about it. Act 1, Sonic v Shadow. Act 2, Sonic v Shadow, Jim Carrey edition. Act 3, Sonic v Shadow, Dragon Ball Z edition. To the average viewer, the pacing might run a little too fast. But honestly, this is one of those rare instances where I think the film slightly benefits from it. Part of what was lacking in the first 2 movies were the human subplots. Although I did particularly enjoy the Rachel shenanigans in the second one, I still have to admit, these human scenes slightly overstayed their welcome, and overall drag the pace of the central narrative. With this installment, the story only slows down when it absolutely needs to. Sonic 3 knows we don't need to spend a lot of Wachowski family fun time by the fire. Instead, the film allocates that extra lot of time to focus on the more emotional beats, the obvious being Shadow's dark past. And on that note, Shadow's tragedy being the foundation for this film immediately tells us that this movie isn't gonna shy away from serious themes and messages. Oh no. From this point onward, spoilers are gonna start spilling out. In 3, 2, 1. Aside from juggling themes of grief, teamwork, and vengeance, Sonic 3 knows when to up the drama. Looking at the kill count alone proves this theory. In the Deadpool, we got Commander Walters, Maria, Gerald, friggin' Eggman? Well, maybe Eggman. You never know with these movies. And for this movie being the darkest out of the bunch, it's also funnily enough, well, the funniest out of the bunch. Dude, Gerald's death literally made me crack a rib. Other moments that made me cackle were Shadow's passion for Gabriella, Sonic's little one-liners here and there, Agent Stone had some funny material as well, and of course, Jim Carrey. My god, he is truly having the time of his life in this role. He cranks the Carrey charm to 100 in a grand Robotnik fashion with all of his screen time. And you know what? Even though I have a soft spot for the evil, sinister Eggman, I just found the humor he brought to this role delicious. Like, I remember the scene right before Robotnik had to make an announcement to Agent Stone, and as Jim was making those grand motions in that grand suit with that astounding mustache, it just took me over. I no longer was watching Jim Carrey performing a scene. I was watching Dr. Robotnik doing what he could do to carry out one final dying mission. Moving on, I'm just so happy knowing that beyond this being a Sonic movie, it's also a franchise film that perfectly demonstrates how to respect an IP's source material while playfully adding its own spin on things. Another highlight I took away from this film was Keanu Reeves. Wow. Simply wow. Hats off to Mr. John Wick here because he was fantastic as Shadow. He effectively manages to bring emotional levels to Shadow's dialect, such as pain, anger, worry, humor, you name it. Keanu can bring it. As for the rest of the cast, Ben as Sonic was fantastic, Colleen was a natural for Tails, Idris is perfect as Knuckles, and even the human cast brought their A game, especially Lee and Jim. And speaking more on Lee, Agent Stone in this movie was quite a hoot. I honestly wish we got to see a little bit more with him, but dude, he brought it. Something else I really loved seeing this time around was Sonic getting straight up angry. After finding out Shadow just knocked the rings out of Tom, seeing Sonic being fueled by revenge and hate was just, I was just getting weirdly giddy with it. A true Dark Sonic moment. Seeing him post up to Knuckles like that just made me realize that his character has a little bit more nuance than what we typically see. This moment between the three shows us that Sonic actually has a breaking point, and now we as an audience know the lengths he'll go to do what he thinks is right. And on the topic of rage, seeing Shadow's villainous side was just, a treat. Okay, one more pro before we get into some cons. That Super Sonic vs. Super Shadow fight scene was nothing but peak. I know y'all have probably heard this by now, but seriously, that fight scene between the hedgehogs really felt like something you'd see out of a Dragon Ball Z episode. And honestly, it works. And when the hedgehogs are destroying the gunbots in space with an orchestral version of Live and Learn playing in the background, alright, enough fun, it's time to get nasty. Nasty. Let's start with my biggest con with this movie, and I know it's going to sound two-faced after I just gave praise to the Live and Learn thing, but I have to be honest. The score. Although I agree this soundtrack is the best out of the series, I still don't think it's enough to warrant it being a Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack. As much as I love how Live and Learn was used throughout the movie, that's pretty much the only Sonic song you get out of this whole thing. Exactly like the other two Sonic movies, it overall just sounds like generic action movie music, and that should not fly for a Sonic film. And before the real Sonic fans hate comment on this video, I'm more than aware of Sonic's victory theme being played after his first race with Tails and Knuckles. I'm more than aware that a brief snippet of City Escape played, and going further, I am more than aware of 1OK Rock's Neon being played as Team Sonic jumped out of the helicopter. But even with all of that awareness, come on guys, is that it? And I hate to play the comparison game, but one category that Illumination's Mario movie has against all of these Sonic films is its soundtrack. The thing about the Mario movie is that it actually utilizes Nintendo's expansive library of Mario songs. So to all the Sonic movies doing the bare minimum when it comes to its score is just simply saddening. Maybe it's a legal issue on the song rights, or a director's choice, or some weird code in the Matrix for all I know. But regardless, I want the Sonic movie soundtracks of the future to fully embrace its love of Sonic, and not just touch upon it. Another nitpick I have with this movie is its plot holes from time to time. For instance, Commander Walters was the one that locked Shadow away, right? So when Shadow accidentally knocks the soul out of Tom, it makes sense that Shadow only did that because he thought he was taking out Walters. Simple stuff. Okay, sure. No problem though. Shadow only remembers what Walters looked like back then. So when he stumbles on Tom's disguise of him, how would Shadow even know that that was Walters in the first place? And sure, you can argue that Shadow was briefed by the Robotniks after escaping Prison Island, but we're never shown that. So how do we really know what happened? Another con moment for me was near the end when Sonic and Shadow are trauma dumping on the moon. Shadow recalls how he's been blinded by revenge, and trying to comfort Shadow, Sonic mentions how Shadow's love for Maria will always remain. Well, what's the problem there? How did Sonic know Maria's name? Yeah, he saw a picture of Shadow with her earlier on in the story, but I don't remember anyone coming behind him and telling him, oh yeah, that girl's name is Maria. Minor details like that go overlooked quite a bit throughout the dialogue in this one. And another issue I still have with these movies too is how they still haven't found a way to not exposition dump from time to time. And I get it, at the end of the day, this movie's catered to kids and general audiences that aren't really Sonic fans, but come on, we ain't dumb. Like there's a moment in this one where Team Sonic met up with Commander Walters to get answers about Shadow, and I kid you not, when Sonic asks about Shadow, this is what Walters immediately spits out.
Shadow's story began a lot like yours, Sonic. But where you found family and friends, Shadow found only pain.
Damn, dude, no easing into that dialogue or nothing? Just cutting to the chase like that, are we? Alright, with those cons out of the way, we gotta finish this thing off with a bang. The post-credits. Guys, when I saw Metal Sonic's silhouette form from the smoke, I literally turned into a wound-up monkey. And as a nice bonus, we got a 2-for-1 special with Amy! Her saving the day like Thor the God of Thunder was just so badass, and I really wish I could show y'all leaked footage right now because both Metal Sonic and Amy look clean. Overall, I find Sonic 3 to be an action-packed roller coaster of fun. With breathtaking fight scenes, gut-wrenching laughs, and loads of heart, this movie perfectly balanced it all while putting on a show. Now with all that being said, I think it's safe to say that this movie lived and learned to the hype. A solid S rank for me, Sonic 3. Well done.